So welcome again to this particular session. We were discussing the accounting aspects. Under the accounting aspects, the acquisition method shall be adopted. First thing is that we need to know actually who happens to be the accounting acquirer, because accounting acquirer in rare circumstances could be different from the legal acquirer. Second important point, date of date of acquisition. And the third point is that is important, that which are the assets and liabilities which we have assumed, are there any non-controlling interest, and gain on bargain purchase. How these things will be measured? Standard states that all these things should be measured at fair value. In fact, there is a separate guideline which I am writing here itself, shall be measured at fair value. You need not require to write, I have already told you I am going to write each and every word later on. Show some patience, correct? So fair value, all these items, but just to caution you, we will see Ind AS 103 gives an option to the entity regarding non-controlling interest. We will see that non-controlling interest, an entity can measure it at fair value, and most of the time entity will measure at fair value, but entity can measure it on proportionate basis. Right now you will not be able to comprehend what exactly this proportionate basis is. But just to clarify the point, because we have kept a separate section. In fact, your section 1 deals with calculation of goodwill, non-controlling interest, gain on bargain purchase, wherein we have covered nearly 14 questions. So you need not require to bother on that particular aspect. You will learn the calculation of goodwill and gain on bargain purchase later on, but at this moment you simply stress upon here. So fair value, regarding fair value, non-controlling interest, there is an option available, because Ind AS 103 provides an option to the entity that they can measure non-controlling interest at fair value or what we call proportionate basis as per their own will and judgment. However, rest of the things, in fact most of the things or all the things are measured at fair value, with the possible option available with respect to non-controlling interest. All these things will be measured at fair value, not at book value. Correct? You can see the deviation of this particular standard from our earlier version of standards. Correct? Now, it is very important, because I have seen most of the students actually neglect this part. First standard states that you will have to recognize the assets which you have taken over, of course the liabilities which you have assumed, and if there is non-controlling interest in goodwill, please note it down. Besides that, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions to this rule. There are some exceptions. What are those exceptions? There are some exceptions also. What are those exceptions? Pay attention. All these assets and liabilities which we have assumed, or non-controlling interest, or for that instance goodwill, gain on bargain purchase, generally are measured and assessed at fair value. But there are some what we call exceptions to this particular accounting part. One is related to contingent liability. Please pay attention, this is quite vital. Later on, we will cover up some questions. We have kept a section for the same, where we have kept near about 3-4 questions with respect to this particular exception itself. Contingent liability. First of all, you need to understand why it is an exception to this rule. Suppose I have a contingent liability. What do you mean by contingent liability? First of all, contingent liability means it is a present obligation. There must be present obligation. Now, if I would ask what is present obligation, many of you will start blinking your eyes, isn't it? Present obligation means obligation on the date of balance sheet, on the reporting date. That is present obligation. Contingent liability means there is a present obligation on the balance sheet date, but outflow of funds is not probable. Outflow of funds is not probable. Of funds not probable. That means you are not expecting an outflow. There is an obligation, there is a duty upon you, there is a foundation upon you, but at the same time you are not expecting any what we call outflow of funds. As per Ind AS 37, or your old version of standard AS 29, contingent liability generally are not recognized, rather they are reflected by way of footnotes. or by way of notes to the accounts, correct? So generally, contingent liabilities are not recognized. Suppose if A1 is acquiring A2, and on the date of acquisition, A2 is having a contingent liability. A2 is having a contingent liability means A2 hasn't recognized that liability, because they are under an opinion that although there is a present obligation, but likelihood of outflow of cash is not probable. So general rule is that contingent liabilities are not recognized. But standard says that, because I have already told you these are an exception. So why it is an exception, you need to know that. Ind AS 103 states that contingent liabilities shall be recognized irrespective of the fact whether there is probability of outflow of funds or not. So even though A2 hasn't recognized this, but you will recognize this particular liability because you are the acquirer entity. Irrespective of outflow of funds, all the contingent liability must be recognized. So that is why it is an exception. And we will see standard further says that it is exception to recognition rule. It is exception to recognition rule. Now you must get a clarity regarding that. It is an exception to recognition rule because contingent liabilities are generally not recognized. But Ind AS 103 states that it will be recognized. That is why it is an exception to the recognition rule. Besides that, there are some exceptions which are not only exception with respect to recognition, but also with respect to measurement. What are those? One, income tax payable, then employee benefits. You need not require to write this rough work, that is why I am using the short form. Later on I am going to write each and everything, whatever I am uttering right now, correct? And indemnification assets. You have, this is not intangible asset, indemnification asset. Indemnification means to compensate, correct? Exceptions. One exception is contingent liability, but it is an exception to the recognition principle only. Number one, it will be recognized, but it will be recognized at fair value, because Ind AS says as far as measurement is concerned, every measurement should be at fair value. So it is an exception to recognition rule. It is not an exception to the measurement rule. So contingent liability will be recognized at fair value. Number one. Number two, second exception, second type of exceptions. These three types of exceptions, they are not only exception to recognition rule, but also to measurement rule. First thing first, suppose I am acquirer company, you happen to be acquiring company. You are the acquiring company and you have some income tax liability. You are supposed to pay some employee benefits, and these are actually liabilities, and you are supposed to receive some assets. Indemnification asset. For indemnification asset means suppose other party has told you that we will compensate you in case if you happen to incur this loss. So that is a sort of indemnification asset. It is almost like contingent liability. Are you getting my point? So other party, let us say, has said that we will compensate you. So you are, for simplification, you simply treat it as compensation receivable, indemnification asset. Correct? Now it will be clear. First of all, it is an exception to the recognition rule, because general principle is that whenever I am going to take the business of somebody, and if that somebody has some what we call income tax liability, some employee benefit liability, or some indemnification asset, generally those assets will not be recognized. Generally those assets will not be recognized. But Ind AS says that you are going to recognize. So that is why it is an exception to the recognition rule. First thing. Second point is, it is also an exception to the measurement rule. We have already seen that Ind AS 103 states that things should be generally recorded at fair value. We will see that we will recognize these things, but not at fair value. These things generally are recognized at book value or agreed value. Is it clear to you? You got this particular point, why it is an exception to recognition and measurement, what we call criteria. Contingent liability is an exception to recognition principle only. Correct? You will measure it at fair value. You will measure it according to the guidelines of the Ind AS. But these things you will recognize, that is why it is an exception, but you will measure not them at fair value. So that is why these things will not become what we call, as I said, exception to only recognition principle. These things become the exception to both recognition and measurement. There is another one, third type. What is the third type? Third type is an exception to measurement only. These are also exceptions, 1, 2, 3. But it is an exception to measurement. What are these? One is reacquired right. We have kept a separate section and we will cover some questions also. Reacquired rights. First of all, you must understand that reacquired rights are intangible assets, like copyright. Suppose I have given a franchise to somebody. That means I have given a right to somebody. It is an intangible asset for me. And if I take away that, reacquire that right, let us say I have given a franchise to one of a business outlet. And tomorrow, I acquired that business outlet. It means the right which I gave earlier has been reacquired by me. So that is known as reacquired rights. Reacquired rights are intangible assets, first of all. We will see that these are not measured at fair value. That is why they are not measured at fair value. That is why they are an exception to the what we call measurement rule. Right now I am not in a position at what value they will be recognized, because some other Ind AS will come into play. In simple words, they will not be recognized at fair value, but they will be recognized as per the guidelines of the other Ind AS. Similarly, besides reacquired rights, we have here, I am writing it here because space is the constraining factor, share-based payments. Share-based payment. Share-based payment will be measured, there is a separate chapter, and it measured as per IFRS 2 or Ind AS 102. It is not measured at fair value. Similarly, assets held for sale. AFS, asset held for sale. There is a separate Ind AS for the same, Ind AS 105. We'll measure these things. AFS, as I told, asset held for sale. Such assets are generally recognized at fair value less cost to sale. We will see later on under Ind AS 105, but definitely they are not measured purely on fair value basis. So that is why these will become what we call exception to the measurement. So there are three types of exceptions. Now you should be quite what we call aware of it. One contingent liability, but these exceptions, that means you will recognize those contingent liability because you are deviating from the normal principle, because contingent liability are generally not recognized. So contingent liability you will recognize irrespective of the probability of the outflow of funds. You will recognize them, number one, but you will measure them at fair value only. Then recognize and measurement. Income tax payable, employee benefits, and indemnification asset, that is compensation receivable. You will recognize them, that is why they are an exception, but you will recognize them, as I said, what we call not at fair value. Is it clear to you? So that is why they are an exception to measurement. And again, these assets, reacquired right, share-based payment, and asset held for sale, are not recognized at fair value. They will be measured as per the guidelines of the respective standard to which they belong to. Is it clear to you or not? So first point is that whenever I am going to acquire, real point, actually this is point number C as far as acquisition accounting is concerned, but whenever I am going to record the asset and liability, I need to take care of what we call these assets. Correct? So I hope now it has become clearer to you. Now, then standard also states that goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. Right now, because we have kept a separate section, and over there I am going to discuss that how goodwill is computed or gain on bargain purchase is computed. I will discuss that later on. But just for the sake of understanding, just let us say I acquire a business today. I acquire a business. A net identifiable asset. Net identifiable asset means asset less liabilities at fair value is equal to 15 lakhs. I acquired the business of an entity and I assumed assets and liabilities, and their fair value, net fair value is 15 lakh. Correct? So it means I am acquiring net identifiable assets. Then I will write here consideration. How much consideration I am paying? In fact, before consideration, I will write here non-controlling interest. Try to understand this. Suppose I am A1 acquirer and you are A2. I acquired your entity. On the date of acquisition, net identifiable assets of your entity is equal to 15 lakhs. That is why I have written 100% of your net identifiable asset were worth rupees, 100% means all assets and liabilities are worth rupees 15 lakhs. Obviously now I am having a control over your entity, so I will have to consolidate your assets and liabilities in my financials. So I will write net identifiable assets, of course at fair value 15 lakh. Remember, I have written 100% of financial, 100% of identifiable asset. Let us say I acquired only 80% stakes in your entity. That means in your entity, we are the controlling interest holder. Besides that, there are non-controlling interest holder. What does this control means? If I have 80% stakes in your entity, that means out of 15 lakh, 80% worth of asset really in real terms belongs to me, and 20% worth of real asset belongs to other shareholders known as non-controlling interest holders. That is what we mean by controlling stakes. If I acquire the control in a particular company, let us say if I acquire 20% share in a company, so I have got 20% proportion of stakes in the net assets of that particular company. So here I will write non-controlling interest, correct? Non-controlling interest, let us say 20%, and your total net asset is equal to 15 lakhs. So we may say non-controlling interest is worth rupees 3 lakh. Non-controlling interest is worth rupees 3 lakhs. Indirectly it means out of this 15 lakhs, 3 lakhs in reality does not belongs to acquirer company. Because out of 15 lakh worth of asset, 3 lakhs worth of asset belongs to non-controlling interest. That means you are getting only 12 lakh worth of net assets. Now we will write consideration. Consideration. Consideration means the amount which you pay to acquire these stakes. Let us say in order to acquire 80% stakes, you pay 10 lakhs. In order to acquire 80% stakes, you pay 10 lakh. In order to acquire 80% shares of this entity, you paid 10 lakhs. So this is the consideration you pay. So logically also you can understand that you are getting actually 12 lakh in real terms, but you are paying 10 lakhs in real terms, and you are getting more and paying less. That is why in this case it is gain on bargain purchase. It could be goodwill. Suppose suppose the consideration amount was 15 lakh. In that case, if consideration would have been 15 lakhs, then you are getting less, you are paying more, and this difference 3 lakh would have been goodwill. So you will compute the amount of goodwill or gain on bargain purchase, which is not a very tough nut to crack. Only thing is that you need to take into account, first of all, 100% of the net assets of the acquiring company. From there on, you simply subtract the non-controlling interest share. Correct? And whatever you are left up with, you simply compare it with the amount of consideration which you are paying. So the difference will tell you either what we call goodwill. In most of the cases, as I said, even in what we call initial stages, we shall have goodwill. And in rare circumstances, we may have gain on bargain purchase too. So calculation, I do not want to inculcate a habit of writing formula or something like that. Do not always think from the logical angle. That is permanent. Correct? So these are the things which you need to take care of. Correct? Besides that, standard. Also, so accounting aspects, these are the things which standard has told as far as acquisition date accounting is concerned. Number one, we need to, as I said, find out who is the accounting acquirer, who will do the accounting. Most of the time, legal acquirer will only do the accounting. Don't worry about that. Second, we need to be very careful which exactly is the date of acquisition, because on the date of acquisition, we shall have to do the accounting. Then, we will recognize all the assets and liabilities. We will take care of the exceptions also. and then we will calculate the non-controlling interest and goodwill. Here we have calculated non-controlling interest, correct? And goodwill, how it is computed. Now, once it is done, standard also talks about what is the next step. Anyway, I have forgotten this step. I will simply write it with red pen. Standard also provides some guidance with respect to consideration. I told you earlier also. Consideration which the acquirer company will pay will always be measured at fair value. Number one. Number two, your mode of payment could be anything. Mode and manner could be anything. Is it clear to you? I told you already that you can pay in cash, you can pay by way of shares, even options, even warrants, even you can give your own assets, even you can give your own business or one enterprise also. So, point here is that consideration can be paid in any mode. Then, standard also talks about, okay, I will take this sheet, also talked about business combination. These are rough sheets, please don't write. Business combination achieved in stages. Business combination achieved in stages, what does it mean? Suppose 1/4/2020, 1/4/2021. On this date, let us say A Limited, B Limited. Let us say on 30th of June 2020, A Limited acquires 30% stakes in B Limited. How many stakes? 30%. If I would ask you, do we have the control in this case? No. Because generally, in order to exercise the control, we need to have more than 50%. Right now, we are having an influence. Even 30% is not a mega, what we call, investment. It is quite high. We will have the influence, but we are not in driver's seat. We are not having the control over B Limited. Remember one thing, correct? Now say, next year starts, 1/4/21, 31/3/22. And let us say on 1st July 20, this company acquired some additional stakes. We already are having 30%. And let us say on this date, we acquired 25% more shares. Now, my total stakeholding will be 55%, 30 plus 25%. This will give me the control. In this case, we would call it business combination achieved in stages. Number one. And we will see later on, it will also have some impact on calculation of goodwill. But what will be those impacts and how the calculation of goodwill will be impacted, that I will tell you later on with the help of some problems, correct? So, this was the point which standard also states, and there is some guidance with respect to business combination without transfer of consideration. Is it possible that we may acquire other entity? Let us say there is an entity A, there is another entity B, and I am saying that A acquires control of B without paying any consideration. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. For example, we are absolutely expert in some sort of technology, and B Limited is interested in such sort of personnel or such sort of entity who is having depth to the hilt knowledge of that particular thing. B Limited enters into an agreement with us that we are interested in hiring you, and we on our side say, no, we are not interested in getting hired. In fact, we will legally take you, and we will not pay anything, but at the same time, we will deliver you, or you can say expertise, and we will manage the entire thing. So even though we are not paying anything, not a single penny, yet we are having a control. Are you getting my point? So it is a possibility that control could be acquired. Last point is with respect to acquisition related cost. Acquisition related cost. All these points I'm going to write later on, don't worry. Acquisition related cost means obviously when you are interested in what we are getting a control of other entity, you may have to pay or churn out some expenses in the form of finder's fee, surveyor's fee, etc. Some technical fees also. So all these will be considered as acquisition cost. Important point is that Ind AS 3 states that acquisition cost will be expensed in the period in which you have incurred. Correct? So these are the points. This is an overview. This is just an overview. In the upcoming session, we will write each and every word, whatever we have discussed. But the basic idea of these two sessions is to acquaint you very well with all the technicalities of this particular what we call standard. I hope that you must have driven some benefits and some sort of confidence now to handle this particular tricky, long, and very interesting NAS.